Blog Talk Radio.
Down to sleep, lay me down. I pray my soul is mine to keep. My soul can never step outside this bed, never into all the evil. Now back from the dead.
Are you scared?
He's here.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is your host, the Head Undertaker, the Dead Man, Michael Jones from HorrorSociety.com and Living Dead Magazine. We are going to have one hell of a show tonight. We're going to be talking with the director and some actors from a film that I think is going to wind up being a cult classic very shortly. In our main interview at 8:30, we are going to have writer, director, and producer Bloody Billy Pond on to discuss his amazing film, Circus of the Dead. And we'll also be talking about some of his other projects, such as Dollboy, Mr. Fister, and Don't Go to the Reunion. About 9 o'clock, from what I'm led to believe, Papa Corn himself will also be joining us. That's right, Bill Oberst Jr. will be joining us at 9 p.m. as part of the interview with Billy Pond, talking about Circus of the Dead. We're going to be reviewing Scream Factory's Phantom of the Paradise tonight, as well as BRINKVision's Sonno, Profondo. And man, let me tell you, both of those movies were something else. I can't wait to talk about Sonno, Profondo, and we'll do that here in a few moments. We are also going to be featuring several bands in our Metal Blade Spotlight, so we're going to get right to that out the gate. Not quite sure if it's world premiere or not, since I have played it, but we are going to play a double shot of the brand new Anthropomorphia off of their CD, Rites of Perversion. The name of the song is Tempioth Workings.
Goodbye.
You just heard a double shot of Anthropomorphia off of their CD, Rites of Perversion. That song was Crowned in Smoldering Ash, and we opened that set up with Tempioth Workings. We will have some more Metal Blade here later on in the show. But now it's time for some digital dismemberment.
Digital dismemberment.
And in tonight's first digital dismemberment, we're going to talk about a great film that I feel very honored to have been sent a copy of, and that film would be Luciano Onetti's Sonno Profondo. As most of you know, I would say that my knowledge in the horror industry certainly extends to all subgenres, but in particular, I am a big fan of Italian horror films, no matter what the subject, no matter how they're done. And this film, I think, really does a good job of capturing that and taking me back to those days. From the press release, BRINKVision releases Sonno Profondo August 26th on VOD, limited edition DVD, and September 23rd for VHS. BRINKVision is releasing Sonno Profondo August 26th on those dates, as I had mentioned. The VHS is strictly limited to 200 copies on a red VHS collector's tape and will include some great vintage extras. Sonno Profondo is the critically acclaimed, award-winning film that brings giallo back using some of the best 70s horror-style filmmaking. Critics have called it a demented piece of art, a fascinating cinematic experience, hypnotic, unsettling, disturbing, and Sonno Profondo resurrects giallo. Just to give you a little bit more background, after murdering a woman, a killer that is traumatized from his childhood memories gets a mysterious envelope slipped under his door. The hunter becomes the prey when he finds out that the envelope contains photos that show him killing the young woman, filmed in the style of Italian giallo films. Now, one of the things that I think the common fan may have a problem following the film is everything is shot from the first-person perspective. You're getting the viewpoint of the first killer. And as the movie goes on and the plot slowly begins to unwind itself, you're treated to almost like a visual state of wakingness. You don't really know if what you're seeing is what he's really seeing, if it's part of his memory flashbacks, but that's a typical element of giallo film. So it's not sloppy filmmaking in a sense that, he just slapped a bunch of images up on the screen. This is not a particularly gory film either. If you're going into the film looking for a bunch of blood and gore and guts being strewn everywhere, you're not going to find that. What you are going to find is an incredible attention to detail. One of the things that I think is just incredibly remarkable is how well they were able to replicate even the blood, the set pieces, the cars, the medical equipment. Hell, even the bed sheets are from the right time period. So, you can obviously tell that a lot of work went into it. Some of the other things that are really interesting that you should know about the film is it was shot in Argentina, and the screenplay was written in Italian. Luciano Onetti and producer Nicholas Onetti just do an extremely incredible job of recreating what I feel is a lost art and a lost time in film. It has certainly won many, many awards, in particular for its soundtrack, which was done by Luciano as well. It won Best Film at Hemoglobin in 2013, Best Music Soundtrack, Tabloid Witch Awards in 2013, Special Mention at the Buenos Aires Rojo Sangre in 2013, Stages 2013 International Film Festival. The list just goes on and on and on. What I feel this is a thinking man's horror thriller. I really sat down and had to analyze what I was looking at. In terms of, if you really want a good idea of what you're going to be looking at visually, I would recommend checking out films like Four Flies on Grey Velvet, Tenebrae from Argento, anything along those lines. Even if you want to stick it in the Lucio end, I would even consider Don't Torture a Duckling to fall under that same premise, and that's definitely a show of appreciation and respect to Luciano for everything that he's done on this film. There's very little dialogue, so you're not going to, again, it's a thinking man's horror film, horror thriller. I would recommend going over to BRINKVision and getting a copy of this while you can. I don't know how limited the DVD is, but again, I think this is one of those films that people are going to look back on in a couple of years when Luciano does something else and go, man, it was all right here. Special features on the DVD include an interview with the director, a deleted scene, and some trailers from some other BRINKVision films. I'd be very interested to see if this is just an early release. If a later Blu-ray comes out, what special features would be added to it. In terms of special features, I give it about a 6.5, 7. I would have liked to have seen a lot more detail about Luciano and where he got his ideas from. The film itself, I would give it about an 8. Again, this is not every horror fan's cup of tea, so I don't expect every horror fan to expect it or get it when they see it. But those that are fans of this genre and this type of film will know exactly what I am talking about. And be sure to stay tuned, because I will be doing an interview with Luciano soon, probably for HorrorSociety.com. Coming up in about 10 minutes, we are going to start our feature interview with writer, director, and producer Bloody Billy Pond of Circus of the Dead. But before that, we're going to go into our next Metal Blade double shot. The name of the band is Aeon, from the CD Aeon's Black. The name of the song is Dead Means Dead.
the flesh. The moment you fear, your nightmare in the flesh.
And welcome back to the Calling Hours. You just heard a double shot of Aeon off of their CD, Aeon's Black. That song was Nothing Left to Destroy. And before that, we opened it up with Dead Means Dead. And I think that's highly appropriate considering our first guest. Let me introduce to everyone writer, director, and producer Billy Pond, Bloody Billy Pond. Billy, how's it going?
It's going good. That music got me all violent. I'm going to go kill somebody and hate on my parents.
it's just a good way to get you in the mood. I mean, you know, you can't beat a song like that, especially since we're going to be talking about Circus of the Dead for quite a bit this evening.
Right. I was just sitting in the air and getting into it.
See, I mean, that's part of what we do. We have to thank Metal Blade because they supply us with all the cutting-edge metal that's out there today.
That stuff's heavy.
Oh, yeah, I love it. The heavier the metal, the better. I saw where you had just messaged me that Rusty Edwards, a.k.a. Mr. Blister, will be joining us around 9 p.m. this evening. That works out well because Papa Corn will be joining us at 9 o'clock this evening as well.
Who's that, Papa Corn?
Oh, yes.
Was he in the movie?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Oh, he was.
Yeah. Hmm?
I better do my research then.
We are talking about Bill Oberst Jr., of course, right?
Bill Oberst Jr. No, not ringing a bell.
I don't know. He might have something to say about that when he calls in. Man.
I'm just kidding, though.
But,
of course, I love Bill. I like to give him a hard time, though, on these podcasts, though, to see if I can just rattle him. But the guy's, like, unshakable when he's talking. And I try to like, throw him for a slip every once in a while, but it's real tough.
I mean, we're going to go real heavy into Circus of the Dead because I have to admit I was absolutely amazed, and you know it was kind of weird how the circumstances of this interview all came together. I know you had been in touch with Deanna Utella of Living Dead magazine, and she had asked me if I would be interested in interviewing you, and I said yeah, I would love to. I said I just need to see the film, and you guys sent along the link. And I have to admit, man, I was absolutely blown away. I went and I watched the trailers before I saw the movie, and the trailers almost made it seem like it was a much more of a comedy than what the film really turns out to be. And I'm just wondering, did you guys do that on purpose to draw people into the film? Because, I mean, I think it's a tour de force. And there is certainly black comedy, but, man, that movie, I walked out of that, and I was like, wow.
Yeah. It was like that music, and you just wanted to go out and kill somebody, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing.
You know what's funny about that stuff is I was trying my damnedest not to put out any spoilers because I'm really trying not to because there's some stuff inside the movie that blow people away when they see it. So I'm trying really hard not to let those spoilers get out there anywhere in the trailers or anything like that as best I can. So it was just purely probably by accident. But, I mean, it's still a killer clown movie, so people, before they know anything about it, it's going to think that. And that's already going to, like, they don't have very big expectations for it. And that's what's cool about the movie is that when you see it, you go, man, that was anything but a killer clown movie. That was actually, just a good movie. And that was the goal going into all this.
I mean, the movie straight balls out. There's no other way to put it. Like I said, there are elements of humor in the film. There's definitely some black comedy, but at the same time, there are certain scenes that, you just feel that chill run down your spine. I wanted to ask you first, before we really get into Circus of the Dead, I wanted to ask you about Dollboy. Kind of tell us about how Dollboy came about, and how did you eventually tie him into Circus of the Dead?
Well, it's actually he's always been a part of Circus of the Dead. We just didn't want to make when I got ready to start making movies. I didn't want to start with Circus of the Dead because I knew when I did Dollboy it was going to be all local. So we just basically took one of the characters out of Circus of the Dead world and did a short. And I made the short, and I wasn't too crazy about it, but a lot of friends, talked me into putting it into a film festival. And it got into 1, got into 2, and then so on and so on. And then started getting a bunch of good positive feedback about it. But always knowing I was going to make Circus of the Dead, which is this whole big world that actually there's a lot of characters like Dollboy and other people and stuff, just big, interesting world. So, but as far as Dollboy coming to be was the actor, my brother-in-law, Sergio Gracida, he found that mask, and we're coming up with a costume for it, and he always, wanted to do like maybe some overalls or coveralls, and I said, man, we've been there and done that kind of stuff. We need something that nobody's ever seen before. So had AC/DC on Shuffle Play, and I thought about Angus Young, and I said, and I thought that it kind of makes, Sergio mad if I, made him like a little pedophile killer, so that's where the schoolboy uniform come from.
Okay. I mean, he's definitely an intriguing character. There are elements, and we'll talk about this as the actors call in too, because there are certain things I wanted to point out about their performances. But in terms of a character approach for Dollboy, without giving away his presence, his scene in the film, very reminiscent to me of like a Leatherface, just the way he went about what he did. Has that I was not able to see Dollboy before our interview, so I'm just curious as to, what was your genesis for that character? Why, when you decided to do the short first, why was Dollboy the one that you picked out of all of the characters are colorful?
I guess it was because we already had this character because he was one of the characters in the haunted house. But when me and Lee Ankrum was writing Dollboy to do the short, is we really pulled from Leatherface, and as well as Sergio did too, because he doesn't talk, and it's the same way where those classic guys look with their mask or they get frustrated and act a certain way, and it's like that's where Hollywood kind of gets it wrong sometimes because it's too Hollywood, it's not like
right.
It's not real. It's like it should be a pudgy dude, it doesn't have to be a big muscle bound guy because if it's probably a big Bubba or something like that. Dollboy's backstory is where the character development come from. Is his backstory is Papa Corn, actually he was kind of did the thing like Donald the Clown. He was basically something like that actually fell along with their plan and become one of their killers. So sometimes they kidnap people that are just so bad that they say, hey, you want to be a part of this? We'll make it work for you. So Dollboy is one of those people. He was basically a pedophile, and they cut his junk off, and there you have Dollboy. So for sport, if you see Dollboy the short, what they do is they like to throw kids in an empty building with Dollboy and let them hunt them down. And whichever, kid survives or whatever, that's the winner. So it's basically like the clowns are doing bets on, who's going to survive.
Yeah, they're all very powerful characters, and I think it's a very powerful film. At what point, you shot Dollboy, and you talked about not wanting Circus of the Dead, to be the first thing that you shot. What was it between that 4-year period, approximately 4-year period, where you felt like you were ready to take that step and actually move on to Circus of the Dead?
Well, I'm not even ready to make Circus of the Dead yet. I just did because I finally realized that if you just sit around and wait, that's kind of been my only bad thing I've done in life, is sometimes I just wait too long. So I've just kind of, I guess over the past 4 or 5 years, I've just basically learned to get the lead out and get moving on things and get it done, And there was other projects that come along, too, that I could have done before Circus, but, I wanted to do it first because it's always, had something personal to my heart. But if you wait to do it when you're ready, you're never going to do it. But, from what I learned from Dollboy to Circus of the Dead, it was crazily. I just learned so much stuff. And then I said, when I did Circus, I've learned even 10 times more since then. So I'm looking forward to doing the next film. And the thing about me, and Lee, the way we write and stuff like that, is it'll probably be something, maybe even totally different or something. It's just, it's got to be organic and kind of grow from something. It just can't be forced. So that's the way we approach all the stories and stuff like that.
Well, now, let's just move in on Circus of the Dead now at this point. The premise of the film I find to be, it really sets up in an interesting way. You have a man who is entangled in a deadly morality game when the circus comes to town, and these clowns wind up being a lot more than what they appear to be. First of all, so many people have an inherent fear of clowns. It's actually interesting to read about cases of that. What was it that made you choose clowns as the focal point of the movie?
Honestly, that they're such a bad idea to do for a movie. I mean, if you want to make a cheesy movie, then make it about clowns, because that's in a nutshell, that's what people's going to think. So to me, it was just a challenge. I never want to be, remaking classics or nothing, and somebody always says, what would you like to remake? I would always want to remake something that everybody hated and didn't like, because you can kind of only go up, I think everything could be good no matter what it's about, even goofy clowns. So that was the only reason we wanted to do that, is I challenged myself in saying, can you make a good movie about clowns that basically isn't cheesy or nothing like that? And this is what we come up with.
We have a caller. Hello, caller? Oh, no one's there. Okay. Well, sorry about that, Billy.
Okay.
But, kind of what I like the idea is, you took a group of clowns, serial killers, and the genius of it, I guess, is the fact that they move from crime scene to crime scene with the circus. It's almost the perfect cover.
Right.
Most serial killers are not tandem killers. They're not people that usually work together. How were you able to, with your story writing and with the people that you got as actors, how were you able to make it to where they were able to work as a cohesive unit?
Well, I mean, it goes down. It's like planting a seed, and it grown into a giant tree. Is at the base of the movie. At the basis of the movie is it's basically about don't take your life for granted. It could always be worse. Okay. So if you take that and then start from there, and you start filling in all the backstory on everything, even if it's not shown, you're going to find the right way to go in the movie. And it's like veins in your body or something, in the sense of it has to get where it has to be, so that way everything circulates as a perfect body. And when you find yourself in a bad situation where you go, hey, if they do this would be really, really cheesy. Because at first I even had some stuff that might have been considered supernatural and stuff in there. Mm-hmm. It always looked good on script and stuff like that. But then in editing, we didn't like it as much, because we thought that it kind of took away from the fact of it being real. So it's just, at the end of the day, we just wanted to make what if this was real? What would happen if this was real? And the way I instructed all the clowns and everything is if this was real, what would we do here? And this is what we do, and that's what we kind of come up with. I mean, it is still a movie, and there's things that probably couldn't happen. Like maybe Big Joe and his bad aim with the shotgun and stuff like that. But some things you just gotta, stretch a little bit. But for the most part, it's just how would I do it if I was in that situation? I mean, I might be a closet serial killer, and this is just how I tell my stories. So, and you guys find all this out someday. But right now,
funny. A lot of people I talk to that are directors say the exact same thing. It's amazing how you all think that way.
Well, to be honest with you, though, I'm not a secure person in life and stuff like that. So it's my imagination is constantly running. Lee's the same way too.
Sure.
It's just that's what it is. We're very insecure and stuff, and always looking for approval and stuff. So, this is where we come up with this at. Maybe it's the ones that are so assured of themselves isn't making stuff as good as they think it is. So, I'm not. Circus of the Dead is a pretty good movie. I wouldn't go as far as saying it's a great movie, but people seem to like it a whole bunch.
Well, I think we have one of our callers back. Are you there? No? Okay. Well, people keep calling in. Hello, caller?
Hello?
Hello.
Hello, how you doing?
Can I ask you? I'm good. Who's calling?
This is Big Joe.
Big Joe. Hey, Big Joe, how's it going?
It's going all right.
Who is the pedophile-based doll boy after?
Very nice.
Yeah.
Well, Big Joe, let me go ahead and ask you this then, because, I was just asking Billy about it. The character, is very physically intimidating. I saw mannerisms, of course, like I had mentioned Leatherface, When you played the role of Doll Boy, how did you go about making that character your own? You know,
he didn't play Dollboy. He
it?
was just the inspiration.
Oh, you were the inspiration. All right, then tell us what it was that inspired Dollboy from you.
No, I didn't inspire Dollboy. Come on, Billy. I was Big Joe in the movie. I was the guy with the shotgun.
Yeah. Oh, that was a different. Different chunky pedophile. I'm sorry, Dave.
He's throwing us all off. Well, I mean, tell us about what you thought about your experiences on the set. You know, you talk about that particular scene. In a lot of ways, that scene kind of reminded me a lot of the gas station scene from High Tension, and a lot from House of a Thousand Corpses, where the sheriff is gunned down in the backyard. It had that similar feel, that showdown, like you knew something was going to happen. You know, kind of talk about how you guys went through that.
Oh, yeah, it was a lot of fun to film that. I mean, it was really late at night, but it was really a good time. Of course, Billy knew exactly what he wanted. You know, we went through and just did the way he directed us. We had a really good time doing it, though. It was a lot of fun. As far as, you know, go ahead.
I was just going to ask you, you know, are you surprised so far? I mean, everywhere you look, all the horror movie sites, you hear the fans chattering. You know, are you surprised so far with how popular this film has become in such a short time?
No, I'm actually not, because I know how sick and twisted Billy really is and has been for years, so I figured it was going to do well.
Now, Billy, for you, you know, what was it that made you bring him in? You know, I know you said he was you were joking about the basis of Dollboy and everything, but, you know, what was it about him that brought you in for his character?
It was his sex appeal.
Oh boy!
I tell you what it is to me I like characters, right? And he's a character just like you know, Roy Shuck played Paul Scullett, the other guy in there, and it's like characters, and that kind of sums up West Texas in a nutshell. I mean, those are real West Texans, you know, and that's what I see when I go to a liquor store. That's the kind of people I see and stuff like that. So I want it to be real, and he makes me smile when I see him do things, and you know, I figured it'd work the same way on other people.
You know, what would you say? I mean, of course, you had that main scene with the missing with the shotgun and everything, but you know, when you were on set, what was it? You know, what were you surprised to see? I mean, every low budget film has, you know, we wish we could have put this, we wish we could have put that. You know, were you over on set to see something and go, man, I can't believe they got that on film?
Well, you know, the whole attention to detail deal in that scene, you know, a lot of work went into changing everything around so that it was his, you know, Billy's brands as opposed to name brands, and we spent a lot of time doing that, and it was I was amazed at the you know, the most minute detail that he went into, and then that's the only way he'd have it. So we always pitched in a hand to try to help him as much as we could, and I think it ended up looking good, because you see a lot of things. Every time you watch the movie, you'll notice something different, especially in that scene, because there's so many things that we switched around.
Now, Billy, one of the things that I wanted to ask you, you know, you talked about clowns, and, you know, clowns have certain mannerisms and things like that. You know, a lot of directors, especially on their first film, kind of hold the reins really tight so that they feel like they get their vision all the way across. You know, how much did you allow the actors improvisation, considering the roles that they were playing?
Well, I mean, it was pure improvisation, except for the fact of the characters are wrote around them and kind of how I knew them to be. It's kind of like everybody's alter ego. I mean, Dave could be a Big Joe somewhere, you know. I mean, that could honestly be him, because he's probably that bad of a shot in real life too. But anyway,
yeah.
But no, it's like the clowns especially is, you know, Noodle Dome. That's Ron's personality. Ron's kind of like a big kid, you know. He's always accidentally breaking things. You know, chairs and toys or anything. The guy's just, you know, he's all thumbs. Rusty, you know, played Mr. Blister. He's very monotone and kind of doesn't give a shit about anything. Mike is very mischievous, yeah, and even a little bit pervy. Now Bill, like as far as his real character, I didn't know that. I only knew him from an actor, but I knew Papa Corn, you know, as far as all the clowns, was the only one I was going to give a bunch of lines to and all that kind of stuff, because I knew the capabilities of my guys. Now, they all did super wonderful, but there was a reason, they talked and did as much as they did. I just didn't want to push them to the limit, so that's all.
Certainly. We're going to try one more time. This same number keeps calling in. Hello, caller, are you there?
Michael.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can I ask who's
Michael,
calling?
it's Bill Oberst Jr. I'm the guy you keep hanging up on.
Oh, Bill, I'm sorry. I kept saying hello and I couldn't hear you, so I didn't know.
I know, man. I could hear. I hate Skype. I hate Skype so much that I would like to unleash these clowns that came from Billy Pond's vision. I would like to unleash them on the Skype tech team, because every time I use Skype, it's a technical nightmare. Why can't they get it right?
I have no idea.
Good evening.
Bill,
we're not here to bitch about Skype. I'm here to praise Billy Pond, and I'm glad you asked me to call in, because I think what you've been hearing, and I've been listening to you guys for a half hour, what you've been hearing is the real Billy Pond, and what you've been hearing is what people do not know about the horror genre is that many of the great creators, and I think that Billy Pond is well on the way to being one of the great creators in our genre, many of them are gentle, kind, and ultimately insecure people at heart. People assume that, everybody's a big, brazen, rude, brutal asshole if you're in horror, and it's not true. Billy is exactly who he's been saying he is, and I applaud him. On the other hand, he's created a movie that scared the shit out of me.
Billy, what do you have to say to
that? Bill, we already paid you. You don't have to say that stuff.
See, that's him. He's Mr. Self-Deprecation.
Well, I mean, I've been ever since I saw the movie, I've been waiting to ask the two of you this.
Yes.
First of all, Billy, what made you decide to choose Bill as Papa Corn?
I'll tell you what. I'll be totally honest, and this is good. And as I started searching, I knew I had a really good character, and I haven't seen his movies and stuff, but me and Ray Ballard, one of the producers, started making a little short list of who we liked, and we compared lists, and we both had Bill Oberst on the list. So then once we had this kind of list, we started going in and watching clips and stuff. And this is for other actors out there, is I just started looking at his demo reels and stuff, and liking what I was seeing and saying, this guy's, pretty dang good at what he's doing. And so then I just made a little simple reach out to him, and, he responded and checked out the script and liked it, and we just went from there. But it was basically that. It's just he was popping up on the social media, popping up in search as far as, for people to look out for and stuff like that, and that's where we went, that and demo reels, and that's how it all went down. In short films, yeah.
Now, Bill, for you, I wanted to ask you, the few people that I've talked to about the film before tonight, they all asked me, what is Bill's performance like? If you could equate it to something, and I certainly mean this as a compliment to both you and the person I'm about to compare you to, and it's funny that all three of the first names right now are Bill, and I'm just going to say Bill Moseley. In a lot of ways, to me, when you were under the makeup, the way that you portrayed the character, the way that the character talked, it was almost like I was looking at or listening to Otis Driftwood from The Devil's Rejects and House of a Thousand Corpses. When Papa Corn went a little bit more manic, I almost saw Chop Top from Texas Chainsaw 2. Where did you bring that energy from in that character? And, Billy and I were talking about improvisation. What did you bring to it that was strictly your own, that you felt was just had to be there?
Well, I told Pond he should have got Bill Moseley to do the role, and there's the confirmation right there. You see, you got a second-rate Moseley. You should have got the real thing.
Are you being serious, though? Did you really recommend Bill Moseley for the role?
No, I'm joking.
Okay, man, you're killing me, because I mean and I mean that as a compliment, because I think he's a great actor as well. I was just blown away with your performance as the character.
Oh, Moseley's fantastic, and I'm always happy to be compared to him or to Englund or Karloff or Chaney or any of the other greats, Vincent Price, greats of the genre. I just did what Billy Pond told me to, really and truthfully, as an actor, I need a personal relationship with the director, and that's all I need. If I don't have it, I'm going to suck. I can't work. I've done a couple of movies, only a couple, where I knew nothing about the director, didn't feel comfortable with him, we didn't have a personal relationship, and I sucked. Like, I have to have that because I'm looking at the director, and you after a couple of days, you can start to get a rhythm. You can hear the way they say cut. You can tell the set of their jaw. You can tell the way they settle in the chair, the way they turn away, if they like it or not. And you start to get an unspoken chemistry between you. Because what I'm trying to do is to channel the director's vision. It's not mine. It really has very little to do with me, in my opinion. So what I put on the screen was the best that I could get from Billy and Lee of what they wanted for this character. And, of course, it had to be filtered through me, which gave it some imperfection. So it's not pure popcorn, but I got as close as I could, I hope, to their vision. But that, for me, it's about pleasing the director. It's their movie, and I want to bring their vision to life on the screen as best I can.
Now, what was it about the script and the character that made you say, yes, I want this role?
Well, when I first read it, I thought, I'll be really totally honest, I thought this is ridiculously brutal. He's not going to film this. So even if I do this, this scene won't be here. There's no way. He's not going to do this. You can't do this. You can't do that. So I really thought that I was going to get there, and then it was going to be like a much milder version of the script I'd read. And then, damn that Billy Pond, he did every bit of it. And then he added scenes that weren't in there. And he made it such an incredibly brutal movie that I don't know if I would have done it if I had known the full extent of Popcorn's brutality. So it's kind of good that I didn't know.
Right.
It's kind of good that I didn't know. So, it wasn't like I said, I want to play the most sadistic clown in history. But when Billy said to me, he said, look, he's a serial killer and a serial rapist with a touch of necrophilia. His job just happens to be as a circus clown. He could just as easily be a plumber or taxi driver, but he happens to work as a circus clown. I found that really interesting, and I thought, okay, this is not playing an evil clown. This is playing a guy, a real human being, who has these horrible tendencies, and his job is as a clown, and it fascinated me as an actor.
Now, Billy, one of the things that I found interesting was, we touched upon the morality tale of it a little bit. And, you talk about the appreciation of life. How did you, working in the industry myself, I understand real-life experiences and transferring it, to a product or to a film, but, a lot of the things that the characters did and from a psychological aspect were really horrific and terrifying. How much research went into some of the things that you had, Parrish Randall's character going through?
It really wasn't research. It was just all come out of my diary. No, actually, that's the thing. That's what I wanted to say, though, is like with Bill Parrish and all that is like, I hit the jackpot because, it's like Bill's a weapon of mass destruction, man. It's like you can't go wrong. And I know, 100% that I wouldn't be in the situation of everybody talking about Circus if not for his performance in that movie. And I'm, forever thankful. I think me and Bill we're a lot different in some ways, but in a lot of ways we're the same. Is it's about the passion, and the hard work and stuff like that. And
we're both very insecure. We're both insecure.
Yeah. We actually had an interview about that where we both said that we kind of, when we grew up, we were kind of like the misfit toys, and we wanted to be accepted in some way. And that's what these movies afford us to be. Is it kind of makes us cool in some ways.
It makes us cool. It makes us the cool guys. Yeah, Pond just said a mouthful. That's exactly right. We're the weird misfit kids. I feel the same way doing this movie as I did when I did my first play in high school. I was really, really unpopular. To the point of I just want people not to know that I existed. I did that first play and got on stage, and I thought, now there's a little area in which I can be cool. So it's the same way here.
It's like
to me is it's not the acting. To me, it's the storytelling. is I just want to be a brutal Mark Twain is all I'm trying to be. And then you go back to the Parrish thing is there was times when it would come as he'd get into this character and Bill was fixing to go do some screwed up stuff to him and all, and Bill wouldn't even bat an eye. When you said action, you know, Bill was on and he didn't flinch. And Parrish was sitting there just bawling up a storm and stuff like that to the point of his throat and stuff going out. And there's like, we were filming that, and I just knew at that moment, I said, man, we're on something, because this doesn't seem like a horror movie. It just seemed like a legitimate, real movie. It was like a real experience when we were filming it. So I knew it would come out pretty good as far as once we put it out.
A brutal Mark Twain. Awesome.
I like that. By the way, we're going to use that for the interview in Living Dead magazine, Billy, so we need to remember that one. But,
Michael, I should ring off and leave room for other people to call. I don't want to be a hog, but I just want to call and support the show, support our society.
You're not a hog. You're not a hog at all. If I could, I wanted to ask you one more question, since
Please.
You know talking about you being on and emotion and everything. You know, you talk about this scene. We talked about the scenes with Parrish and everything. You know, of course, you're a very accomplished stage actor, TV actor, movie actor. You know, how hard was it for you to hold that manic against his rage and his sorrow? You know, how hard was that for you guys to keep it in tune?
Not hard at all, because I think the way in which Billy and I are alike is that we both have a lot of latent anger. And I guess all men have a simmering low-level anger that we kind of keep on a boil. Do you agree, Billy?
Mm-hmm.
I do agree. We are Popcorn and we are Don. It's like yin and yang. It's the same thing. We're all of that. We're both of those people. They're the same person.
So Popcorn is us with no governors, with no morality, with nothing to hold us back, with no societal restraints. And in some sense, I think Popcorn is what every man would be if we had no restraints. He's very, very frightening for that reason, because he's in all of us. He's certainly in me. So it wasn't hard at all. And I think that this is a guy thing. I enjoyed the sadism. I enjoyed watching Parrish cry and knowing that those were real tears. Now, in real life, I wouldn't. But in the character of Popcorn in the scene, I relished it.
Mm-hmm.
I relished the fact that every one of those tears I had caused. And that I was going to now show him something that was going to make him lose control even more. That sense of power and emotional rape is incredibly seductive, and that's why it disturbed me so much to watch this movie, because I saw all that in the character, and I saw it in myself face to face with it. And this movie really, really upset me, man. I had to go outside and just walk and look at the sky. It disturbed me.
It's intense. Bill, I want to thank you so much for coming on. I'd love to have you on again. I'd love to interview you soon. So thank you for coming on.
I'd love to, too. And for fans of horror, I would really like to encourage you, when this movie comes out, to go to it with an open mind and don't expect an evil clown movie or what you think an evil clown movie would be. Just go knowing that what you're about to see is pretty real, and once you see it, you are never going to be able to forget it.
I agree. Bill, thank you so much for being on.
Okay, man. God bless you.
And I think I have another cast member on. Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
May I ask who's
That's
calling?
Rusty Edwards.
Ah, Rusty.
Hello.
Hi, Rusty. Thank you for coming on.
Good to be here.
Mr. Blister the Clown. Tell us how you became involved with the film and how you made Mr. Blister your own.
And don't say casting couch.
Well, I was told not to talk about that, but, you know. Billy was, started talking to me about his movie, several months before we started working on it, and he just asked me if I wanted to do it and said I'd be, perfect for it. I said I was kind of reluctant because, acting really hasn't, been something I had ever done really. But he said, don't worry, I'll make it where it's, easy for you, and and he said basically just be yourself. So that's was the big trick to it.
Now, I wanted to ask you, it almost seems like in a lot of ways your character is Popcorn's foil. especially the scene where you're in the store and you're playing the video game in the back.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the way you were so nonchalant about how everything was going on, and yet, when the camera was on him, it was so intense and tight, and on you, it was so loose and laid back. And Billy has said that you guys played to your character strengths. Kind of talk about how that scene all came together and how you felt it looked on screen.
It was, after reading the script, I thought it was, going to be a real black contradiction between what horrible things are going on there and what silly things are going on with the game and me in the background. So it was just kind of like, I'm not fazed by a lot of things, so that's kind of how I am. But so that's kind of in my nature. So I just had fun playing the game while everybody else was getting killed. So
now, Billy, for you, how did you feel like they played off of each other? Because, like I said, you can kind of see where they're almost polar opposites of each other. Popcorn's this centralized bundle of energy, whereas Mr. Blister's just kind of like, eh.
Yeah, we should have called him Mr. Valium. That's what we should have called him. That's what the funny thing was. It's like he didn't care about anything, and that's what made his character so memorable. It's their personality traits. It's like the thing I always preach as far as being organic. You got to kind of let them grow. They started off with kind of how their personalities were, and we just let them grow into, clown personalities.
Now, again, we had kind of touched on it's getting a lot of critical success. Fangoria's saying good things about it. Horror Society, of course, Living Dead Magazine's getting ready to do a big interview with you, Billy, about it. What does this, are you surprised by, even as dark as your content is, how excited people are about this film?
Yeah, I'm surprised with everything that happens for it. It's just a silly, concept me and Lee had, almost a decade ago. For it to turn into a movie that people actually like, it's very surprising. But I don't think it's like the brutal stuff of it is. I just think it's like the chainsaw of its day. I think that that's what Bill was saying is there's a lot of people that aren't going to get it or are going to take offense to it, and those are anything negative we get. It's usually going to be something like that because it is brutal in nature. But I think. It's like Walking Dead killed kids off sometime, and then, it's always that rule of thumb. Our producer, Ray Ballard, always says, don't ever kill kids, don't ever kill the dog. So me just being a dick says, well, we're going to kill kids and we're going to kill a dog because I just want to, I just like messing with my friends. But it's like I think as society's going, it's just not going to, 10 years from now, it won't be the most brutal thing kind of thing, So it's like it just wasn't for the sake of being mean-spirited or nothing. It was just it's part of the movie, and it was organic, and that's how it grew to be. And that's what it should have been. But I think it will be accepted someday because of it, because of the realism.
Well, let's bring up something interesting about this, though, and this is for both Billy and Rusty. It's funny how, as a society today, we're becoming, apologetics, more PC.
Yeah.
But yet our entertainment, films like Circus of the Dead, are the films that are drawing attention and everyone's raving about, and it's certainly not a very PC film, if you want to put it that way. Why do you think movies like this, in particular Circus of the Dead, is having that much of an impact when hitting your spouse can make you lose your job in the NFL? Saying the wrong word can make you have to sell your NBA team. It seems like we're all for these social morals, but we want our films to be, so visceral. Why do you guys think that is?
Well, I don't want to jump the gun and say it because I could, get assassinated tomorrow for doing the stuff that I do. But it's sometimes maybe people see it as a safe escape because hey, it's in a movie. That's not the way I am. Maybe it's a safe escape way. But we really didn't set out just to make it, like that or to push the envelope or nothing. Like I said, it just kind of grew to that. But I do think it's ironic that you're saying PC and that actually stands for popcorn, which is the alternate, the opposite of that. So that's kind of cool.
Actually true. I didn't even think about it from that aspect.
Because popcorn is anything but PC.
That's very true. What about for you, Rusty? What do you think?
Well, I kind of like Billy. I think it's an escape for people because it's a safe way to be frightened because they know it's ultimately not real, but it's still, people like to be shocked in some way, I think, and it's just a safe outlet for their fears. That real life fears may be, part of their lives, but this is not real, so they may frighten them, but ultimately it's not going to hurt them. So,
right.
It's like a take it like this: is it's like I see it as like when you rode a roller coaster as a kid, and it was before I was like a fat ass and all, but when the bar didn't go all the way down and you didn't have a seatbelt on, I'm thinking, holy crap! I'm a kid and I'm thinking I'm going to die on this roller coaster. It's that kind of feeling as I like to have in a horror movie. And a lot of people push the envelope in horror movies, which we did, but it still needs to be at its core just a good, solid movie. It just happens to be horror. And that's the most thing that I like to say the most is it is a good movie, just wrapped with the horror candy shell.
Sure. Now, has it gone out to many festivals yet?
It's building steam. We got a lot of stuff coming back yet. We'll actually be announcing a couple here in the next day or two. It seems like there's a new one that's popping up every other day that we're starting to announce. I guess everybody does them in the fall season for some reason, or that's when we hit them all on Without a Box. But we're doing that, and we got some more conventions coming up and some things like that. So it's starting to pick up. But we got some big buzz and stuff like that, and that's why we're everybody's wanting to see it and all that kind of stuff. And I feel like I've created this frenzy. And I can't get it out yet, but I just have to make the right distribution deal. Not so much for the money thing, but I just want it to be out everywhere, and make sure it does get out everywhere because I do want it to, to see everybody. I want everybody to have the chance to see it someday if they choose to.
Well, and that was my next question. Several films that I can point to, in particular Matt Farnsworth's The Orphan Killer, they self-distributed themselves, and one of the telling facts that Matt had told me about was The Orphan Killer had been illegally downloaded over 1 million times.
Yeah, that's not surprising.
With the way, I was going to say, with the way things are today, what are your thoughts? I know you can't say anything, name anybody, but what are your thoughts on distribution? Do you want it to go to theaters? I think it would make a great, like midnight circuit run for sure.
We've looked at
that type of film.
That in like the draft would be nice to do a midnight thing. I mean, would I like
prefer
it in
go? Would you prefer DVD or?
Well, no. I mean, I would like it in theaters, but I mean, that's that would just be a dream come true. But even DVD is good too because it's got a big buzz on it. So I'm happy with anything. I just want it out to as many people as I can get it out to. So the distribution thing, that's what we're looking at. That's what we want somebody to do, is to get it out and then put a lot of money behind it to keep pushing it out. Because I'm in a unique situation where it's not about the money, for this. It's more that we got to do what's best for the film because the film deserves it. Everybody put their heart and soul into it, from every actor to crew members to everybody, to just people that felt bad and brought us dinner one night. And I want it to be great because of that, and that's what drives me is everybody's hard work.
Well, I'm going to go out and do it. I don't, usually when I have people on and talk about projects, I try to keep business and, interview separate. But I will say, I think highly enough of Circus of the Dead that if my people at Scream Factory are listening, I think if you're looking for DVD route, that's a company you need to talk to. We
did talk to them, and it was pushing a little bit too much of the envelope for them. They sent me a nice letter, and I can't remember the context name, but they're super good guys, and they did check it out, and he loved the movie, but he just said ultimately that's where we hit a little snag sometimes on people because they're kind of scared of the content. A lot of people are. So that's where we are on that.
And since we're talking about content for a minute, Rusty, I know it's one thing, as an effects artist, I read scripts a lot all the time too, and a lot of times what's on the script is not necessarily what winds up, on film. Were you surprised by the amount of violence in the film, the gore, or were you going into it just expecting this from day one?
Well, when I read the script, I had certain scenes I was asking Billy, you're really going to do that, huh? And he goes, oh, yeah. But, yeah, I just, you know, he had his vision, and I knew he was going to get what he wanted, and it was going to turn out well, and it did, you know. But, you know, when you read a script, what comes to your mind and what actually is going to be filmed is two different things sometimes because.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, yeah, I think it was, I think he got a lot of what he wanted, so.
Now, Billy, for you, you know, on that flip side, same thing, you know, certain things are written in the script, and then, you know, improvisation happens, things happen. You know, was there ever any point in the film when you were filming something that you were like, I don't know about that?
Nah, I'm pretty, you know,
I mean, I like that. I like that as an honest answer. I mean, you know, there are some, you know, there are certain things as an effects artist I won't do. I have a younger daughter, so scenes that involve younger children are a little taboo for me. And I know some directors are the same way. But, I mean, talk about that as a director for a moment, knowing that you don't have that concern or that constraint over your head. You can film whatever the hell you want to film.
No, actually, I was told not to film, you know, by the powers that be, not to film certain things. But my theory is like, hey, we're out here, they're not here, let's film it. If it looks good and I can make it work, I mean, the worst thing they can do is tell me to take it out. So that's the way I always see it, you know, is just we're here, we got it, let's just try to do it. If it sucks, we'll pull it out, you know. If it's gold, and a lot of those moments ended up being gold because when you go watch it at a festival or a convention and everybody, you know, 500 people are together and they see those parts that you know I'm talking about, I mean, it's a fun thing just to watch the audience and how they react to it.
Now, saying that, you know, filming things and hoping that they work in terms of what they told you not to film, you know, kind of let the average fan know what it's like to sit in on that meeting and fight to get something into the film, and then once the film is shown, you're proven right. You know, kind of talk about how you go through that process as a director.
Well, I was proven right in some things, but I was proven wrong in some things too. But you got to remember is what is it worth to you? You know, you know, I tell my money person that I would do some bad stuff to make a movie, and when it come time to make a movie, he goes, well, I hope you're ready to do something like that because we're going to make a movie. So there are certain things that you got to give up, and you got to let your pride down sometimes, and it can always be about you and your artistic vision. Sometimes you have to play the game in the sense of, do you want a movie or do you just want to have your artistic vision in your head? And I just, where I wanted to compromise, I compromised, and where I didn't want to compromise, I didn't compromise. And that's when I, you know, shot the stuff anyway. So that's what it is. I mean, you got to give up sometimes something to get something bigger on the tail end at that given point. You know, I didn't want to just make one movie the rest of my life. I know I want to make multiple movies, so, you know, I got lots of more visions and stuff, so hopefully next time it won't be as hard to get some of the things passed as it was this time, and so forth.
Certainly. Now, one of the things that I really liked when I was looking over the Facebook page for Circus of the Dead was some of the amazing concept and sketch art that was over there. Kind of tell us about who your artist was and how you guys first began formulating what you wanted the clowns to look like.
Well, that, you know, me and Lee started off with sketching things like that and stuff too, but it's one thing you could sketch cartoons and stuff. Then it kind of come back down to Esau Ramirez, who was kind of the jack of all trades on the movie, and he took their pictures. He took Rusty's pictures, Ryan's pictures off of their Facebook pages, and then he just started doing some crude coloring on Photoshop. And that's where we started working on the makeup and stuff like that to get it ironed out. And so I credit Esau Ramirez and Pels Ramirez for the makeup, you know, because it was there. And we just basically gave little guidelines and stuff, and they basically, you know, come up with great stuff, you know, that, geez, I can't imagine them without it now. As far as the artists, we usually use John Mata at 80 Designs, and he's been a best friend of mine for, you know, over a decade. He lives in Dallas now, but he still, you know, he would probably fist fight me if I didn't let him do my art because, you know, he's like that. You know, he gets big clients and stuff like that, but he'll always do for me because, you know, like I said, he's like my brother, and I always love his design. And it's my theory that I learned from my big producers is basically you let people do what they do best. Rusty's actually, that's what Rusty does for a living too, is he's an artist, a graphic artist, when he's not raping prostitutes. But he did all the designs of all the fake brand logos and stuff in the convenience store. Then we had Gabe Ramirez took all the cool pictures that you see. So I just got a lot of good people around me. Like I said, I dare say if I didn't have anybody, this would have been a shitty movie if I made it by myself.
Now, Rusty, you just said that you did like a lot of the labels and the posters and stuff in the convenience store.
Yeah.
Kind of talk about where you got your ideas for some of that stuff, because you notice, now that I think back on it, I don't ever remember seeing a brand name in the film, and I find that kind of cool that you're the one that made that happen.
Oh, well, me and Billy just kind of got together and talked about what we needed to cover up, and then there's a lot of Easter eggs in there about some of his favorite movies and characters and that sort of thing, so we kind of based it around that, and it's taken, make it look like a brand, but it's not really a brand, so kind of just fool you.
Yeah,
that's kind of how that works.
You did a great job with that. I mean, it was, now seriously, thinking back on it, a lot of times in films you'll catch that where you'll accidentally see, a product that they probably hadn't intended to be there, and looking back on it, I don't remember seeing any brand products, so that's actually... We're
an indie movie that turns a lot of people off as far as because of the brutality and stuff, so we did our, best to cover up everything we could possibly cover up or blur something out, so we worked real hard on that before we actually pushed record.
Now, with this being your first feature film, let's talk about it from a publicity standpoint for a moment. When you started seeing your film being brought up on Fangoria and Bloody Disgusting and Horror Society and everywhere else that it's being brought up, what was your initial reaction? I mean, was it like, oh my God, I made it, or now do you feel even more pressure to keep the ball rolling?
Yeah, I mean, it's. I guess I would actually answer that like it's kind of like my sex life. It's like great for 30 seconds, and then it's basically I'm thinking about eating some pizza rolls. I just don't. I buy it then, and I'm super happy. But then I'm so insecure that it's like, well, what are you going to do next? Or it wasn't that good. I'm pretty mean to myself, so I call myself bad names all the time.
I mean, you're doing yourself a disservice, man, because like I said, I really feel like this is going to be one of those films in a couple years. People are going to go back and they're going to be talking about this film. This is a film that's going to have that cult following. Now, I know the version that I saw different than what the people outside have seen yet?
No, I think, when did you watch your version?
Last week.
You got the newest version. There was a different version at Texas Frightmare Weekend, and over in Spain and stuff like that, but we take some of the stuff, and we've been placing out with some feeders here and there to give me back some feedback and stuff, so some private groups and stuff like that, so we just make a little bit of things here and there. Lauren Morris out at Scorpion Ranch did a good sound mix on the new one for us, and I was going to put it out the way it was, but that's why I like the people that work for me. She said, quit being a jackass and send it to me so I can make it sound better. And I said, yes, ma'am. And that's what we did. So it's good I got people around me that are good at what they do.
Well, I mean, if you're ever looking to bring it to North Carolina, let me know. I certainly have a network of contacts out here. It'd be fun to have the film shown out here. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'd love to. If there's like any conventions or anything, just people, search us out on Facebook or whatever and shoot me a message. The film being successful, I'm averaging 40 to 50 Facebook messages and emails and texts and all kinds of stuff a day, and I do my best to get back to everybody, but I haven't hired an assistant or anything yet to do anything, but it's tough to remember everything, but just stay on me, and I'll do what I can to make everybody in the world happy. I
mean, certainly. Now, I'm assuming that the ending has stayed the same through all of it. Without giving anything away, I mean, anything obvious, are we going to see a sequel?
I hope so. I always say it's not going to be my next one. I need a clown break for a little bit. As far as the next one, I don't know what it's going to be. That's the $1 million question. And knowing me the way that I, like to promote and stuff, that maybe I'll make an event out of whenever I decide on what we're going to do next. So I just don't know what it's going to be yet. We've got about 5 or 6 things. Of course, you got, Dollboy, a feature, and Mr. Fister, and some other stuff in there, but there's 4 or 5 things that I don't let out and people don't know about because I don't want somebody to take the idea. And so I don't know what we're going to do yet. It won't be Circus next, but is there a sequel coming? Yes, absolutely there is. We've already started on the story.
Rusty, what are your thoughts on a sequel?
If Billy wants to do it, we'll certainly do it. He's one of my good friends, so if he needs help, I do the best I can to help him. So, and whatever vision pops into his mind, and I'll help him out as much as I can.
I don't like Rusty. I'll probably hire Michael Rooker to do it instead of Rusty in the sequel.
Well, he is better looking.
Oh my God!
Is that what happens though? The movie gets big and I can replace all my friends out. So.
I recommend that you do.
Yeah, and we'll get Bilbo Baggins to play Big Joe.
There you go.
Oh boy! Now, one of the other things I thought was really cool about the movie was the soundtrack. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got some of the music for your soundtrack and who some of the bands are?
Yeah, the bands are all I know it was mostly Texas bands, and before we even started the movie, Esau Ramirez, that Jack of all trades, he was gathering up a bunch of stuff that he thought I should listen to, and it's just people. He's really into like kind of obscure, cool stuff, hip stuff, and we liked a lot of that. And then we went to Lauren, who helped us with the music and the Let Me Call You Sweetheart and the Do Wackadoo and all that kind of stuff, because I wanted to put a little bit of classy, older stuff in there too to give it that feeling, because in the clown trailer, Noodle Dome was just he basically a trash collector, so he would have basically found an old record player and an old record, and he listens to the same record over and over again because that's the only record he has. But that's what it was. It kind of goes back to that organic thing, is it's all got to be organic and kind of make sense. So Lauren did a fantastic job on the making everything sound good, because I go back and hear the first cuts and stuff like that, and they weren't as good as what I was doing, and I thought they were good, but that's why you need to pay the money for a good sound person to take care of you, because it makes a difference. It's just as important as the visual.
Oh, yeah, I agree 100%. Remember, what was the third film I worked on had professional sound crew, and man, what a difference it made. You're right about that. We've only got a few minutes left, but I just wanted to get this out there, Kind of tell people where Circus of Dead, if you have anything firm yet, where it's going to be playing here in the upcoming future, and if you're going to be at any conventions, let people know where you're going to be.
We're at Parrish Randall's going to play Donald the Clown. He's like a brother. He's a good guy. He's going to be in Omaha, Nebraska for Scream in the Dark. Bill's got a German film festival coming up too, and I got to get more information on that because I need to post it too. What else do we got? We got picked. I don't want to say it out loud because I'm sitting on 2 or 3 of them that I can't say out loud yet, and I'm afraid I'm going to get them mixed up. But we got a bunch of film festivals that are fixing to come down the wire. A lot. And they'll be on Facebook, yeah. On our Facebook, everything will be there once I know.
And saying that as well, let people know websites, Twitter, Facebook, anything like that, so that they can see what the film is about and so that they can follow you guys.
Yeah, everything we're going to update bloodybill.com. That's kind of my haunted houses, my movies, and all that kind of stuff. Of course, on Twitter, I think we're COTD Film, or at COTD Film. On Facebook, we're Circus of the Dead Movie, Facebook/Circus of the Dead Movie. But basically, if you just search on Google, you're going to find us any and everywhere. And we like talking sometimes, so give us a right. Rusty likes the ladies.
You guys kill me, I swear. Well, Rusty, I want to thank you so much for Rusty, I want to thank you so much for coming on. Billy, thank you so much for coming on. I'll have those questions for the Living Dead magazine interview to you this week. So for those of you who don't know, Billy is being interviewed in the next edition of Living Dead magazine by the Dead Man himself. So, and we'll go into more detail in that interview on Circus of the Dead and more. But, guys, you're always welcome on the show. Thank you for coming on. If you ever have any news or you need anything promoted, please let me know, and I'll always have you back on.
Thanks so much. Do you think it's, weird that, during this whole interview, Rusty called in and I called in, but yet we're still laying together in the same bed?
Well, I mean, your cell phones are good because you don't have echo.
I know. I just don't want to turn over.
All right, guys. Thank you for being on, and I'll hope to talk to you all soon.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Anytime.
Love you, Rusty.
Oh, my God. Once again, we just got off of the phone with Rusty Edwards, who plays Mr. Blister the Clown. We just had Bloody Billy Pon on, writer, director, and producer of Circus of the Dead. We also had Papa Corn, Bill Oberst Jr. on. Make sure if this film is playing at a festival near you, you go out to see it. You will not regret it. Once it gets some kind of distribution deal, we will let you know over on HorrorSociety.com. And make sure to watch out for my interview with Bloody Billy Pon in the next issue of Living Dead magazine. Coming up in a few minutes, we're going to go into our final digital dismemberment Blu-ray DVD review of Phantom of the Paradise. But before that, we're going to go into our last double shot of Metal Blade music for the evening. We're going to do a double shot of Pentagram Chile off of the CD, The Malefice. The first song is Prophetic Tremors.
Violent, synchronized, fractured.
You just heard a double shot of Pentagram Chile off of the CD, The Malefice. That song was Spontaneous Combustion. And before that, Prophetic Tremors. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for our second digital dismemberment.
Digital dismemberment.
And in our Screen Factory Blu-ray review segment of the evening, we are going to be reviewing a film that many probably would think that I wouldn't have enjoyed, but I actually did, and that is the collector's edition of Phantom of the Paradise, directed by none other than Brian De Palma. Just to give you a little bit of background info on our film here. The music made him do it. Phantom of the Paradise, the darkly satirical cult favorite from acclaimed writer and director Brian De Palma, including Carrie and Dressed to Kill, will make its American Blu-ray debut as a collector's edition 2-disc set on August 5th, 2014 from Scream Factory. The new edition of this Academy Award-nominated horror musical classic is packed to the rafters with bonus features, including new interviews with Brian De Palma, Paul Williams, and Tom Berman, new audio commentary with producer Jack Fisk, a new audio commentary with Jessica Harper, Garrett Graham, and the Juicy Fruits, Archie Hahn, Jeffrey Commoner, and Harold Oblong, a.k.a. Peter Eibling, as well as a DVD of additional bonus content, including a new interview with producer Edward R. Pressman, a new featurette, the neon poster art, and much, much more. Fans who order their copy directly from shoutfactory.com will receive an exclusive limited edition 18 by 24 poster featuring the newly commissioned cover art. The film was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Original Song, Score, and Adaptation, as well as a Golden Globe Award for Best Original Score Motion Picture. Phantom of the Paradise is the Faustian tale of Swan, played by Paul Williams, who also wrote the acclaimed score, an evil record tycoon who was tormented by the disfigured composer Winslow Leach, William Finley of Sisters, he once wronged. Also starring Jessica Harper from Suspiria and Shock Treatment, and Garrett Graham of Used Cars and TerrorVision, Phantom of the Paradise is a hilarious send-up of the glam rock era that is pure entertainment from beginning to end. Really a stunning film. Of course, it says right there in the description about it basically being the tale of Faust. You know, in the beginning when I first started watching the movie, I was kind of wondering, okay, what the hell is going on? Immediate thoughts that went through my mind were a Rocky Horror Picture Show and things like that. But I was really impressed as the film went on. The terrible disfigurement of composer Winslow Leach after he's basically been robbed by Swan, and the treatment that he receives in prison, you know, are pretty horrific, and you can see why he went to the lengths that he did. Including, you know, the horrific accident of being burned by the record press. You know, trying to exact his revenge and donning the costume that he does. You know, quite interesting. And, of course, he enters into the deal with Swan. He's given the capability to speak again kind of through a speaker box. And, again, I mentioned the costume that he wears. And he's trying to get his music sung by the person he believes it should be, and that is the young Phoenix, played by, of course, Jessica Harper. It's, you know, you kind of get that vibe. You know, you kind of get the whole. It feels like the Rocky Horror Picture Show with Phantom of the Opera, and I really don't feel like that's a fair comparison, because I think Phantom of the Paradise stands on its own merit. While not what I would consider a horrifically gory film, the film does have a few interesting moments and interesting death sequences. I found, you know, the makeup and everything to be, you know, quite 70s and actually fit the tone extremely well for its times. What else can be said about, you know, the musical score? I mean, the mere fact that it was done by Paul Williams alone says everything you need to know about it. it definitely does have that glam rock look to it, and Jessica Harper is amazing as always in this film. As an interesting historical side note, Sissy Spacek did set design on this film, so, you know, there's just a whole bunch of fun things that go on with this. I failed to mention that on the second disc, the DVD, there, of course, the interviews with Edward Pressman and drummer Gary Malaber. Paradise Regained, the documentary on the making of the film. Interview with Paul Eames, moderated by Guillermo del Toro. Interview with costume designer Rosanna Norton. Alternate takes. Swan Song outtake footage. Original theatrical trailer, TV, and radio spots, and more, and including a still gallery. As far as the things that come on this disc, this it seems like every week Scream Factory's outdoing itself. We mentioned that those are the special features on the first or on the second disc, the DVD. The Blu-ray, of course, has the new high-definition transfer of the film, the commentary with Jessica Harper, Garrett Graham, and the Juicy Fruits, commentary with production designer Jack Fisk, new interview with director Brian De Palma, about 36 minutes, new interview with Paul Williams talking about the music of Phantom. It's about 30 minutes long. And there's the interview with makeup effects wizard Tom Berman discussing the actual Phantom helmet. As a completist, as a Scream Factory horror completist, of course you've got to get this. If you like your horror to be a little bit more light, but still on the adult side, because there are certainly, themes of drugs and sex involved with the film, and of course, obviously, murder and the whole Faustian thing. Definitely check this out. It definitely stands out as a gem on its own, as a one-of-a-kind. You're not going to see too many horror films that fall into this subcategory. And for early Brian De Palma work, of course, this is extremely eye-catching and very colorful. Its boldness draws you in. You almost feel the energy in the film, especially towards the end sequence when Leach goes to get his revenge on Swan and to save Phoenix from falling into the same trap. As far as special features and everything go, of course this is a 10 out of 10. I mean, they've crammed more onto this than they did the Pumpkinhead Blu-ray, and I thought they crammed a lot onto that one. I mean, it's just amazing the wealth of information and everything that's on this disc that you can look at. I don't think there's ever going to be a more complete rendition of this film. The film itself will certainly not cater to everybody. It's not a horrific film by any means, but I'd give the film a 3.5 out of 5. Of course, knowing me, I like things a little bit bloodier. The disc as an overall, a 10 out of 10, of course. Scream Factory these days doesn't seem to be putting out much that's not a 10. If there was a grade higher than 10, I would certainly give it to this disc just based on the amazing amount of behind-the-scenes footage. So make sure to head on over to ScreamFactory.com to pick up your copy. You should be able to get it on Amazon.com, big box retailers, anywhere that you buy your movies. Well, I think tonight was a really great show. I want to say thank you once again to my amazing guests, writer, director, producer, Billy Pond, absolutely amazing, Bill Oberst, for coming on and talking about Circus of the Dead. I really feel like, like I said, if you can, you need to get out there. You need to see this film. I think it's a film that people are going to be talking about for years to come. I want to say thank you to my friend Kelly out at Metal Blade Records for supplying us with all the fantastic metal that we get to listen to every week. And thank you to Lauren Bloom and Tom Chen out at Scream Factory for sending out the fantastic copy of Phantom of the Paradise for Blu-ray review. And our friends at BRINKVision, including Luciano and Nicholas Onetti, for getting me a copy of this fantastic film, and look for their interview coming up here in the next couple of weeks. I will say, without tipping my hand, that we have a fascinating next couple of weeks coming up on the show. There's going to be some great Blu-ray and DVD reviews. Our guests are going to be top-notch. All I will say is October 7th, we will have a special Night of the original Night of the Living Dead interview show. There's going to be some guests on here that I know all of my listeners are going to want to hear. So, until next week, ladies and gentlemen, make sure to go out and check out these films that we reviewed today, Sonno, Profondo, and Scream Factory's Phantom of the Paradise. And also to let everyone know that today, Scream Factory's Pumpkinhead came out on Blu-ray Collector's Edition. Head on over to HorrorSociety.com to read my review about that. So, ladies and gentlemen, until next week, have a good evening and rest in peace.